Nintendo has recently released some financial data, basically hardware sales and stuff like that. And it's, I mean, it's good news, but at the same time, okay, let's start with the good news. The good news is that the Nintendo Switch has sold 22.8 million units. That means it has now outsold the GameCube lifetime sales, which is great. The next target for them to hit is the N64. I can't remember how many unit sales that the N64 had, but it was more than the GameCube. So that's the next target for the Nintendo Switch to hit. But let's take a look at the quarterly, it's hard to say. Let's take a look at the quarterly breakdown for this. This is from Nintendo's site itself. If we look at third quarter last year, Nintendo sold 2.9 million consoles. That's third quarter last year. If we look at third quarter this year, they sold 3.1 million consoles. Now, that's actually very, very interesting information because last year we had a ridiculously huge game come out. Super Mario Odyssey came out in the third quarter, and that is, without a doubt, a system seller. It is, in my opinion, the best Mario game of all time, and it is, in my opinion, the second best game on the Switch. The first, of course, being Legend of Zelda. So that came out in September, got rave reviews, and the only reason that it wasn't Game of the Year for me was because Zelda came out the same year. So that came out third quarter 2017. All right. Fourth quarter 2017 is a very, very interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? Interesting data point. Okay. Fourth quarter 2017, Nintendo sold 7.2 million Nintendo Switch units. All right, that's a very important number because that is a huge spike over third quarter. Third quarter went up quite a bit. So what can we expect? Can we expect this same thing to happen again? Can lightning strike twice? Well, I think that there's definitely a possibility. If you look at the top selling titles for Nintendo systems, okay? If we look at, we'll say, I want to look at the 3DS, and let's look at the top selling games for the Nintendo systems for the 3DS, okay? We've got Pokemon XY sold 16.34 million copies. That's a lot. And then you've got Pokemon Sun Moon, which sold 16 million copies as well. Actually, a little bit lower, but not much lower. And then Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire sold 14 million copies. Now, that's lifetime. So that's over the course of the lifetime of not only the 3DS system, but of the Pokemon franchises. So if you look at the Pokemon franchise for the 3DS overall, all right, it sold 46 million copies of Pokemon games sold on the 3DS, which is a crazy high number. And what do we have coming out this year? We've got a new Pokemon game. It's the first Pokemon game that we will have that is using a new engine in a very long time. All three, XY, Sun Moon, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, they all used the same engine. This is a brand new engine, and I'm sure that it's the one that we're going to get for the RPG, which comes out next year. And I also know that there's a lot of people who are saying, well, the new Pokemon game is not the RPG, it's more like Pokemon Go, and I understand that, but most people probably won't know that going in. And I bet that some of those people will be disappointed, but they might also have fun. We'll see. I'm not super excited for Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu. That being said, you know, last year, I'm bringing up the graph again. Last year, when we look at the unit sales for the Nintendo Switch, the quarterly results last year, fourth quarter, Okay, fourth quarter of 2017, Nintendo sold 7.2 million. Okay, and then if we look at first quarter 2018 only sold 2.9 million, and second quarter sold 1.8 million, and then we had an uptick. We had an uptick in third quarter this year, which is pretty surprising. Went back up to 3.1 million. So the reason why that's kind of interesting to me is because for the most part, I would say that we really didn't get a lot of what I would call system sellers coming out this time of year. In third quarter, we really didn't have anything that would cause the Switch to fly off the shelves. So they did better at this point in the year, which is closer to Christmas, and I think a lot of people would wait and perhaps wait until Christmas to pick up the Switch, or wait until the new Pokemon game comes out, or wait until the new Smash Brothers game comes out. And it seems like a lot of people are starting to pick up the Switch. So the idea that we still have these two mega games on their way, we have both the Pokemon games and Super Smash Brothers. If you had asked me back in June if that was enough to get them to sell 20 million this fiscal year, I would have said no. But if we look at this fiscal year, they have sold. I need to get out a calculator again because I forgot something. So, they sold. That's not right. So far this year, Nintendo has sold 7.8 million, meaning that if they want to hit their target, we'll just round that up to 8. That means that they need to sell 12 in fourth quarter this year. 12 million fourth quarter this year. Last year, they sold 7.2 million in fourth quarter. And last year, they had Mario Odyssey. This year, they have Pokemon and they have Smash, but it's not really Pokemon. And Smash is more of a hardcore kind of game. So I don't think that Nintendo's going to be able to hit that 20 million number that Mr. Kimishima predicted. And I think that's too bad. You know, Nintendo has been kind of on a roll. And I think that if you ask most people who follow Nintendo pretty closely, I think the reason that they're not hitting this number, the number that they're looking at, is because there was a kind of a drought this year when it came to the games that came out. Now, I'm not saying that there were no games, because I know that there's going to be people that'll say, well, what about Kirby, and what about Donkey Kong, and what about this, and what about that? And I got you. I'm with you on that. But there was kind of a drought when you compare it to the previous year. And I think that Nintendo looked at how they did that first year and they said, we can do that again. But it's almost unfathomable for Nintendo to be able to, for any company, to be able to repeat what they did last year. Because last year, they had this unbelievable confluence of games coming out at exactly the right times. I mean, they had Zelda to launch the system with. They had Mario in third quarter. They had Splatoon 2, which in Japan is like, you know, that's like the holy grail of games. That's huge over in Japan. And it doesn't do too shabby here in the US either. They had all those other games that they had to kind of prop those things up. And this year, they had good games, but they just weren't the system sellers that they needed. And I will be really surprised if Nintendo sells 12 million consoles in fourth quarter this year. That would be very, very surprising to me. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Let me know.